Tanzania up to South Sudan. We want to pray for wisdom and direction for the leaders of the different nations, that we would truly have one mind, one purpose, and move as one. Father, we want to pray that you would give us a mindset change, Lord, as the people in this community, that we would move as one, that we would think as one, and that we would move in the way that you've called us to move. I pray that you would open our minds, that we would see how rich we are as a nation of East Africa, how rich we are as a nation of Africa, Lord. I say nation and not continent because we know that we are one people. We pray that we would use the wealth of Africa to build Africa with African solutions, Lord, that we would see ourselves as you truly created us, Lord, and that we would not look down on ourselves, but know that we have great potential. Father, we want to pray for this induction. We thank you for the high-level speakers that you have brought us to speak to us today. We pray that you would open up our minds, that we would receive whatever they have for us this day, and we pray that we would leave this place enlightened, enriched, and empowered to do your work. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for that fantastic prayer. The President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda, the Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, the Right Honorable Martin Ngonga, honorable ministers present, colleagues, members of Parliament of Uganda and the Parliament of South Sudan, members of Parliament of the East African Legislative Assembly, the keynote speaker who is present amongst us, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, captains of industry and civil society, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the chairman and colleagues of the Parliamentary East African Community Affairs Forum, abbreviated as PIACA, I do welcome all of you to this inaugural event of PIACA themed EAC achievements, challenges, opportunities, the role of parliamentarians in enhancement of integration process. The speakers in this two-day series will certainly contextualize the theme as mentioned and also help demystify the preconceptions surrounding the integration process. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, may I invite the chairman of the Parliamentary East African Community Affairs Forum, who in his previous life was the Commissioner Customs, Uganda Revenue Authority, and also President, World Customs Organization, and now a Member of Parliament, Shema Municipality. I do welcome my friend, Honorable Dixon Kateshumbwa, to officially welcome all of us. You're welcome.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Right Honorable Speaker of Viara, the First Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers present, Members of Parliament, our guest speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this engagement, and I thank Your Excellency for honoring our invitation to come and open this engagement. I want to inform Your Excellency that we started this morning with a talk from the former Secretary General of the EAC, the Honorable Amanya Mshega. We went on to discuss issues of trade, and right now, Your Excellency, we are glad that you have been able to join us to open this workshop. The Parliamentary Forum on East African Community is a platform that brings together the members of Parliament who are very passionate about the East African integration agenda. And the main objective of this forum is to ensure effective parliamentary participation and influence on social, political, and economic integration agenda of East Africa. We have over 100 members of Parliament who are voluntary members of this forum, and Your Excellency, when this forum started, the members proposed that you be the patron of this forum. I will not delve into the specific objectives of the forum, but Your Excellency, in brief, the members in this forum are very passionate about the EAC that you have talked about for years. And we believe that the integration agenda cannot be complete without the people's representatives, who are the members of Parliament. Therefore, awareness and capacity building for them will help them to be able to talk about the East African community, integration with confidence, as we debate the bills in Parliament, as we engage the people who sent us to Parliament, to see how they take advantage of the opportunities within the EAC. The EAC is expanding. We are glad that now we have a very big strength in the numbers, and that opens up opportunities for our people. Therefore, Your Excellency, our coming here today, the first induction of the members of Parliament in the next 2 days, is to make sure that we leave here when we know we pick lessons from here, and we shall hear from you, so that when we are doing our work as members of Parliament to support the EAC agenda, we are well informed. I recognize that we have got members from South Sudan who joined us. We also have got the honorable members of Parliament from the East African Legislative Assembly that represent Uganda. And we are glad that we have a guest speaker who is going to talk to us. We thank you, Your Excellency. Our prayers for government is to support this event to be an annual event where we can be able to continue engaging, but also bring on board the other members from the other partner states to collectively discuss the issues of East Africa. Thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful deliberation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Katesh, for that curtain raiser. May I now invite Honorable George Odongo, who is a member of the East African Legislative Assembly and chairperson, Yala Uganda chapter, who will in turn invite our keynote speaker. Honorable George, you're welcome, please.
Your Excellency the President, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Uganda, Right Honorable Speaker of the Parliament of the East African Legislative Assembly, the ministers here present, members of Parliament of Uganda and the East African Legislative Assembly, our distinguished Speaker, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. My role here is very brief, to introduce our keynote speaker and to invite him to speak this afternoon. Very few people have impacted the landscape of Africa in terms of their voices like our keynote speaker. His eloquent voice captures the African situation. He has amplified the Pan-African agenda and the urgency of our time. Professor PLO Lumumba was born in 1962. He earned his LLB degree from the University of Nairobi, and later on earned an LLM and went on to earn a PhD degree from the University of Ghent in Belgium. He has spoken very eloquently on matters of Africa in several fora, both in Africa and across the world. PLO is an accomplished author. And when I say PLO, I'm talking about Patrick Luoch Otieno Lumumba. He's an accomplished author who has published not less than 8 books and more than 12 articles on a global scale. He has engaged severally with public administration in Kenya, including famously serving as the director of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission from 2010 to 2011. He was commissioned by the Law Society of Kenya to prepare draft rules for enforcement of the Bill of Rights under Section 84 of the Kenyan Constitution. He was appointed, excuse me, He was appointed by the President of the Republic of Kenya to serve as Secretary to the Constitution of the Kenya Law Review Commission. Lumumba was also an appointee by the Honorable Attorney General to serve in the National Committee on the Implementation of the International Humanitarian Law. He's an advocate and a partner of Lumumba and Mumba Advocates, director of the Kenya Law School of Laws, and the founder and director of the Center for Environmental Policy and Law in Africa, a founder and chairman of the PLO Lumumba Foundation, a member of the Attorney General's Task Force on Press Law in Kenya, a member of the Attorney General Task Force on Laws relating to HIV and AIDS, a founder member of the Movement for Dialogue and Nonviolence, as well as a founder chairman of the Association of Citizens Against Corruption. Professor Lumumba has wide consulting experience with the International Committee of the Red Cross, Association of Kenya Insurers, the World Trade Organization, European Union, and the British American Tobacco, among others. In his private life, Professor Lumumba is known to practice martial arts and is a 3rd Dan black belt in Shokotan Karate. We are privileged to have Professor Lumumba today. Professor Lumumba has been a very close friend of the parliamentary of Piaka, and we have severally engaged with the professor with the view that he would come and headline this very important conference. We are happy that even when we postponed twice this meeting, Professor Lumumba allowed to adjust his program so he could fit in and be able to be here to present, to make that his keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, allow me to invite Professor PLO Lumumba to make his speech. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. As is typical from profiles obtained from the Google, a few mistakes have been made. Let me begin by acknowledging the presence of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, retired General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Permit me also to recognize the chair of PEACA, the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda, the Speaker of IALA, Cabinet Ministers here present, members of Parliament, and also to mention the Mashariki Fest of my good friend Tendo, who was very key in coordinating and midwifing my presence here this afternoon. Let me say that I am honored and privileged to be asked to share my thoughts with you on the subject, the role of parliamentarians in the integration process. When one is asked to deliver a keynote speech of this kind, particularly in the presence of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who is an East African, as he'll have occasion to tell you, one can be pretty reticent, but I'll not allow myself to be. I will allow myself to share my thoughts by way of going back to the past, but without repeating some of the nostalgic moments that were so very ably articulated by my good friend, the Right Honorable Amanya Mushega. But yet, in the context of what is happening now, it is important to remind ourselves that when we are talking about integration as we are now, we are talking about integration of the post-colonial era. And many will remember that the countries that we so cherish today are the products of a very harsh reality of European powers in 1884 and 1885, which means that the boundaries that we are so fond of are artificial boundaries. And their artificiality has been articulated by the testimonies we have heard from members of parliament who live on the borders of our countries. And it is instructive that even as we were reclaiming our independence, some of the founding fathers of the African nation were very conscious that if Africa, and indeed East Africa, were to thrive, then it was necessary that we act as one. We will remember the very well publicized desire by the late President of Tanzania, Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere, that the independence of Tanzania, or Tanganyika then, be delayed so that Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania would regain their independence as one country. Those were, in my view, the embryonic stages of the desire for an integrated East Africa. You will also remember, beyond the continent of Africa, the conference of the Organization of African Unity in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and the subsequent conference in Cairo in 1964, where the doctrine of the inviolability of inherited boundaries was embraced in the hope that we would integrate and that those boundaries will merely become administrative boundaries. Those of you who are a little older will also remember that when we regained independence, no sooner had we settled in than East African community, as we then knew it, started the process of integration, which culminated in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania acting and serving under the East African community in 1967. Testimonies have already been given of those golden years. We have heard stories about how good the East African Railways was. We have heard how it was possible for a Ugandan to work in Kenya and how possible it was for a Kenyan to work in Kasese and for a Tanzanian to work in Uganda and for a Kenyan to work in Tabora. We celebrated those institutions. We have been told about the postal union, the telecommunications. We have been told about the East African Airways. We'll remember fondly the University of East Africa, how it was easy for a Kenyan medical student to study in Mulago and for a Ugandan student to study law at the University of Dar es Salaam, and for a Ugandan student to study engineering at the University of Nairobi, we are all nostalgic about those days. We then ask ourselves why it is that recognizing the value of unity as we do and as we appreciate, why is it that in 1977 our countries went out? What brought about the centrifugal forces that saw Uganda go its way, saw Kenya go its way, saw Tanzania go its way, so that we were disunited? Commentators, whether they are politicians or political scientists or just idle speakers, would say many things happened. Some would say that it was ideological differences of the leaders of the day. Some would say that there were forces from outside of the continent whose desire is that we remain in a state of disunity. All those assessments are possibly true. But even after we had lost our opportunity for deepening our unity in 1977, it cannot be denied that the desire for unity and the desire for the East African community always remained alive. And that is why, therefore, when in 1998-99, the movement to re-establish the East African community came alive, it was at once sentimental, at once nostalgic, at once visionary, and I'm glad to say that it happened in the presence and through the joint midwifery of the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. He remains one of the midwives at that time. He is the only one who is still alive to give us a true testimony of the thinking of the day. But we who are students of history remember that when we thought about creating the East African community, we reminded ourselves that never again shall we make the mistakes that were made by our forebears, that never again shall we have a misstep, that never again shall we allow ourselves to be divided by narrow interests, that never again shall we allow myopic views to stand in the way of a good project, that never again will we allow the newly created East African community to be a body that stands up in the air without being grounded in the minds and hearts of the people. And it is in my understanding that the treaty under whose aegis the East African community is now rested is designed to ensure that the people of East African community is indeed located not only in the hearts but in the minds of the people of East Africa. I remember that when I read Article 5.2 of the treaty, the very deliberate effort, which was people-centered, the statement that we start with a customs union so that the people of East Africa would trade without let and hindrance, that we would go then into the next phase of a common market, and that ultimately we would go into a monetary union, and that ultimately we would have a political federation. Those are sometimes described by the romanticists as the four pillars upon which East African community stands. But the question that we are here to ask ourselves this afternoon is, now that we are on the path of unity, how have we performed? Have we learned the lessons of the past? Have we understood where we want to go? Are our people wedded to the ideals of the East African community? Are we moving with jet-like speed to realize the desired federation? His Excellency will remember when he and his colleagues met in Nairobi on the 27th and 29th days of August, the year 2004. And Your Excellency, you will remember then, you issued a communique on the 28th day of August. And you'll remember then, Your Excellency, that many statements were made. You will remember your colleague, the President of Kenya, then the late Mwai Kibaki, saying that indeed East African community is significant because we cannot continue to divide a people who are culturally joined at the hip. You will remember your colleague, the late Benjamin William Mkapa, saying, we cannot afford the luxury of disunity because a united East Africa will create a common market which will ensure that our people realize their goals and desire. Your Excellency, you are the more dramatic of the three on that day. You said, and permit me to remember what you said, that we cannot allow East Africa to continue to be balkanized, nor can we allow Africa to continue to be balkanized in 53 countries which are weak and which are incapable of negotiating with other parts of the world. We must stop that balkanization. You said that, Your Excellency. Today, Your Excellency, in your very presence, we are interrogating the question as to whether we are still balkanized. And Your Excellency, if you permit me to be honest and candid, the steps we have made thus far must be celebrated, but we could have done better. We could have done better because, Your Excellency, you will also remember, you yourselves in the year 2004 were so dissatisfied with the pace of integration that in 2004 you empaneled a body constituting representatives from all the three countries to fast-track political federation. They went round East Africa, they went to Uganda, they took the pulse of the politicians. They went to Tanzania, took the pulse of the politicians. They came to Kenya, took the pulse of the politicians, and they did not stop there. They went to the business community and took their pulse. They went to the universities and took their pulse. They went everywhere and they submitted a report to you in the year 2005 in which they claimed, and I use the word claim deliberately, Your Excellency, they claimed that the East Africans had declared unequivocally that they wanted integration urgently. And they said that by the year 2013 we would become one federation. They said that by the year 2013 we would have one East African president. They said that we would have one currency. They said good things, but the reality, which is a sad reality, is that we are nowhere near realizing those goals. Which then begs the question, what can we therefore do? Because it is true that our diagnosis of our problem is right. We know what we ought to do. We have made many declarations. We have created many institutions. We have the East African Legislative Assembly, which is functional. We have the East African Court of Justice, which is functional. We have other institutions which are functional. But yet there is a sense in which we have not made the nuclear decision. And let me be understood to mean, when I say the nuclear decision, the decision that will change the matters in such a fundamental way that the farmer sitting in Gulu, when he is asked about East Africa, he or she can relate to it. the nuclear decision that will ensure that somebody sitting in Iringa can relate to the East African community, the reality that when somebody is sitting in Meru in Kenya will be able to identify with the East African community. That is what we are looking for. And today, we are assembled here to interrogate ourselves. We are assembled here to ask ourselves uncomfortable but necessary questions. We are assembled here to ask ourselves what then it is that we can do to move the agenda forward, and to move the agenda forward in a manner that is conscious of the fact that if we don't expedite the process of federation, the process of unification, then we will become sitting ducks for those whose diabolical intentions and scheme not only require but demand that we remain in our state of disunity. Your Excellency, you will remember several years ago, you said, when we were talking about East African community, and you are talking about the insignificance of our small markets. If my memory serves me well, and it normally does, Your Excellency, you asked, why should Kenya say that it has a big economy? Bigger than what? Why should Tanzania say that it has an even slightly bigger economy than Uganda, and Uganda say that it has a bigger economy than Sudan? Your Excellency then said, that is an exercise in futility. It is three dwarfs trying to argue which one is taller than the other. They are all dwarfs, even if one is taller than the other. I'm submitting to Your Excellency that we cannot continue to be dwarfs. If we are dwarfs, the growth hormone, the steroid that will make us grow taller is federation. And I'm submitting that we have the intellectual wherewithal, because we remember that a federated East African community will be a building block for a federated Africa. And I am aware that we have now expanded. The Democratic Republic of Congo is now with us. I'm aware that South Sudan is now with us. I'm aware that Rwanda is now with us, that Burundi is now with us. I'm also aware that the Somalis have also indicated their desire to be with us. We are some kind of magnet that is attracting others. But before we consolidate, what then is it that we can do? Because, Your Excellency and honorable members here present, we must remember that as we are talking about Federation of East Africa, there is no shortage of individuals out there who would not want us to unite. If you did not know, but I suspect you do, there is a new scramble for Africa. That scramble for Africa requires and demands that Uganda remains alone, that Tanzania remains alone, that Kenya remains alone. The only way in which we can immunize ourselves against the diabolical machinations of the new scramblers for Africa is our unity. And I'm submitting to us that you who are members of East African community, members of the East African Legislative Assembly, what is it that you can do? You must constitute yourselves into missionaries of old. Go out there with zeal. It is not the shortage of protocols that we have a problem with. It is not the lack of clarity of treaties that we have a problem with. It is our commitment, it is our desire to go out into our villages and hamlets and to ensure that we have men and women who, when they go to Arusha, they are missionary, they have the missionary zeal, and they are talking about East Africa. I now know that in the interim period, IALA members are elected by respective parliaments. I look forward to the day when that will be a thing of the past and you shall be elected by universal suffrage. I look forward to that day because it is only in those days that we'll then be able to animate the people of East Africa so that they are better able to appreciate that there is an agenda in Arusha which must be undertaken. I look forward to that day. I look forward to the day in parliamentarians in the respective countries when what happens in Arusha is much more important than what happens in Kampala. You know, sometimes we protect very little things. I remember an old story. Many times when we are told you want 100% of a rabbit, you think 100% of a rabbit is bigger than 10% of an elephant. I'm urging you to go for 10% of the elephant, that East African Federation, because it is only in that way that we will be able to change this continent. Your Excellency, I remember on the 6th day of March, 1997, the former president of Tanzania, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, was invited on the occasion of the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the independence of Ghana. And on that day, Mwalimu was as enlightened as he was visionary, as he was passionate. He said, "The generation to which I belong made their contribution. We made our contribution by midwifing our respective countries from the womb of the colonizers. In the process, we made many mistakes, but in the process, we also made many things and made monumental contribution to the process. It is the duty of each generation to recognize what their duty is. Our generation did their part. This generation must now take Africa to the next level." Mwalimu proceeded as he was speaking to say, "Whenever I travel outside of the continent of Africa, nobody cares about our Ugandan-ness. Nobody cares about our Tanzanian-ness. Nobody cares about our Kenyan-ness. Nobody cares about our Congo-ness. They only care about our African-ness." And to me, the statement, therefore, is nobody cares about our little countries, but they care about our East African-ness. History has placed upon our laps the opportunities to make a change. And Your Excellency, as I conclude, because conclude I must, you are now the elder statesman in East Africa. We know what the legislators must do. We know that they must legislate. Permit me now to use this occasion to address you directly with due respect. When history is written, Your Excellency, I want it to be said of you that as the elder statesman in East Africa, you presided over the creation of an East African Federation. Let it be said of you that during your watch, that is the period during which we had an East African currency. Let it be said of you that is during your watch that we had one East Africa with one president. Let it be said on you. Your Excellency, I look forward to those days, and I'm asking the heavens to preserve me that I may see them. Your Excellency, we are in a good space, and I have no doubt that those of us who are assembled here today will be able to say that East Africans are hungry and thirsty for a federation. Let us be the midwives that will ensure that that is achieved. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for those very thought-provoking statements. Thank you for the nostalgic insights of the EAC integration, and certainly your acknowledgement of President Museveni's efforts in ensuring that the EAC integration process stays afloat. And you indeed made reference to a statement often made by His Excellency the President that says, if we are three dwarfs, then the antidote to the growth of the dwarfs is the Federation of East Africa. So once again, PLO Lumumba, Professor, thank you, sir. May I now take the opportunity to invite a prominent Rwandan lawyer and politician, formerly Prosecutor General of the Rwanda and Special Representative of International Criminal Tribunal of Rwanda, now the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly. Please put your hands together for the Right Honorable Martin Ngonga. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me start with a confession that I tried to lobby unsuccessfully to speak before Professor Lumumba speaks. I tried with the Honorable Dongo. I couldn't succeed, and Peter, I couldn't succeed. Now you know why I was doing that lobbying. Your Excellency, President Yoweri Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, Deputy Speaker, Parliament of Uganda, Honorable Amanya Mushega, former Secretary General of the East African Community, colleagues, members of Parliament of Uganda, EALA colleagues who are here. I don't, how many of you, please? Thank you. Colleagues from the Republic of South Sudan. Earlier on, Honorable Mushega told us that we needed to send the best to regional parliament, and Uganda has always sent the best. Thank you, Your Excellency, for, I take note that you have given them another opportunity to contest for their positions, and that is the right decision you have made. Your Excellency, we have been told about the history of the community. Those who were old enough to see the former community, which collapsed eventually, are nostalgic about it, about that history. And those of us who are not yet old enough to know it, we have seen the new community. And this is thanks to the resilience of leaders, including yourself, Your Excellency, who kept their eye on the need to integrate our people. If it had not been for your resilience, possibly we could not be having this community today. The ideas to organize through regional blocks is not new. I went to the University of Dar es Salaam and I read about the discussions that were taking place there. The Dar es Salaam group, the Casablanca group, the argument whether we should integrate Africa to independence or we should start with the regional groupings. All arguments were valid, and what is happening today, and thanks to your leadership, is that we are reviving those ideas that unfortunately in the initial years of our independence we could not consolidate them enough. So I will not be going into details of what I had prepared to talk to you about. I will file in my document. But I wanted to talk about two things. One, the community we have today is performing well. And I say this with abundance of caution. Honorable Mushega told us we cannot celebrate achievements by comparing ourselves with those who are performing poor as ourselves. But it is doing well, and it is ranked as the best performing regional bloc I think, in my own assessment, for two reasons. One, because we are the best structured community. We have the infrastructure in place to take this community forward. In terms of the treaty, in terms of the institutions we have created, in terms of protocols we have concluded, we have the infrastructure we need to take this community forward. Another reason I think we are ranked the best is because we have the most ambitious agenda. I think we are the only regional bloc that aspires to become a political federation. So how much of this have we achieved 20 years down the road? Now I think that is where the challenge is. Those are the questions that we need to interrogate ourselves about today. We have the infrastructure, we have the agenda, that is clear. But what do we need to do differently to take this community forward? And this, I think, is the role that PEACA is leading the way about. We need to create a critical mass of political leadership that will live, that will live the ambitions of the community, that will think regional, that will cease to think in terms of national selves. Honorable Mushega, when you spoke to us, you shared your displeasure on things that are not happening the way we wanted them to happen. I have my own displeasures. Honorable Kidega, if you had an opportunity, you have your own. So everyone that has been in the leadership of the community, we can come here and lament and lament. So what do we need to change in terms of our workings to make the community functional is the question that we need to ask ourselves today. Another important question that we need to interrogate today is how do we secure this community such that it doesn't collapse again? Because once beaten, yes. So we cannot just be complacent and assume that this community cannot collapse again. And we have been told all along by His Excellency President Museveni and others that EAC is a survival strategy because it is for prosperity and strategic security. So anything you need for your strategic security is basically a survival strategy. So PEACA, thank you. You are leading the way. And I want to make a few proposals. First of all, we need to expand this membership. Let it include every member of parliament. Because every member of parliament in our national parliaments must be someone who shares the ideas of integration. So let it cease to be a group of those who are willing, let all of us be willing to be part of this club. And also let it become a regional platform, such that all members of parliament in regional parliaments, national parliaments, can be members of this group, so that we have a good number of people, a good number of political leaders that can preach the gospel of integration. What we need, Your Excellency, because our people are already integrated, we just need to bring the political leadership on board, because we are the ones who are lagging behind. I want to share one final experience. Honorable Kidega, you were our speaker, when you authorized that we find out why there is a problem when Maasais cross to Kenya and to Tanzania during a certain period of the year. And you remember we went to Rongido and Kajiado, we wanted to know what's happening. The Maasais told us that for centuries they have been doing that. And they tell us when we move, if I'm moving from Kajiado or Rongido, I know where I'm going. I know my destination and I know I will find my relatives there. And I expect them another time when they come to my place, when they needed to come to my place. Then we spoke to the leadership. The leadership had a different story. They were telling us about foot and mouth disease. Animals, when they cross, they can contaminate the other side. So the question was, why can't we put in place an arrangement to facilitate these movements instead of banning them? So people are already integrated. We need to integrate the political leadership. And this is the role that I think PEACA is attempting. We need to support you. And Your Excellency, I request that we support this initiative and we expand it across the region. So I cannot take a risk of waiting until you ask me to clear. Thank you very much. I think now I was advised that when I leave the podium, I invite Honorable Tayebwa to come and invite Your Excellency to address us.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the Right Honorable Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, Right Honorable Martin Ngoga, the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Honorable David Bahati, my colleagues, members of Parliament, Your Excellency, we also have the Right Honorable Dan Kidega, former Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly. We have the Right Honorable Amanya Mushega, retired Colonel, former Secretary General of the East African Community, and our keynote speaker for today, the ever-fresh Professor Rumumba. Honorable colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, I'm here representing my sister, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, who is on a special assignment today on behalf of our party. That is also very, very critical. So that's why she couldn't be here. Otherwise, she would have been here herself. But our office is one office. We don't have an office of Deputy Speaker or Speaker. We have office of Speaker. So when I'm here, she's here. Your Excellency, I want first to thank you for your commitment, consistency, and patience with the East African cause, integration cause. Not only East Africa, but Africa in general. I don't think I've seen any leader who has been as patient, as consistent, and persistent. When we were in Makerere politics, we used to use the adage that as persistent as a mosquito. When a mosquito raids you at night, whatever you do, it's very persistent. That's how our president has been persistent in as far as this cause is concerned. Your Excellency, also, some of us, the sacrifices we've seen you make, and against even the advice of some of us who would be radical. I remember, for example, at Makerere University, when you said all East African students should pay the same amount of fees. Why should you charge a Kenyan $1,000, you charge a Ugandan 1 million? And public universities protested, and other countries were not doing it. And our argument in public universities was, but others are not doing it. Then you say, be the leaders. Why do you wait for others to do it? Why can't you do it? And now it's benefiting very many East African students from all over. And Your Excellency, that contribution, we can't take it for granted. Your Excellency, also want to thank you for declaring. I was telling my friend Honorable Bahati that every Monday from 7 to 9 he has to be taking Swahili lessons. Or maybe he joined the army to Israel, because some people, when they put on uniform, army uniform, Swahili starts flowing. So I wanted him to join the army maybe, so that he can learn Swahili. Because I was sharing with some few business people, and I was emphasizing, this Swahili which you are just laughing at, is going to even help business much more than public officials. In the little business I've been doing, I remember one day we were in China and we were negotiating, buying some equipment in our private business. And the negotiations became tough. The Chinese retreated and started speaking Chinese. Now for us, I was with a brother from Achori, a lawyer from Lango. We couldn't retreat in English because they understood English. So they retreated, they spoke their language, came and hammered us hard. Now for us, we had no any safety net. So we had to wait, whatever they decided. We came back because we couldn't communicate in any local language as Ugandans. We were totally stuck. So we want to support you, and as the leadership of Parliament, we are going to spearhead this to ensure each and every member of Parliament is trained to learn Kiswahili, Your Excellency. Maybe one day we can even change our rules to have a session in Swahili. Your Excellency, also, we want pledge as the leadership of Parliament continue to support this forum. To Peyaka, members, we promise you support, because when we are supporting you, we are supporting His Excellency's vision. He's our vision bearer, and we have to support him in this vision to ensure that indeed we deliver on it. And I think, Your Excellency, also, and Right Honorable Martin Ngoga, when you're handling issues of East African community, the politics we were talking about, the politicians who are not yet fully on board, we need to see a way of integrating the East African Parliament with the national parliaments. For example, we have 9 members of Parliament from Uganda. What do we lose if they are ex-officials of the Ugandan Parliament? So that they can come and sit in the Ugandan Parliament. They don't have voting rights, but they come, they participate. We ask them questions about what they are doing for us in ARA, other than just getting reports. I think that's at state level, but I think it would be a very good proposal so that they are fully integrated within us, other than seeing them at voting time only. Your Excellency, as Parliament, we have assigned the forum to study and see how best we can realign the domestic laws with the protocol, customs protocol, common market protocol, and the treaty. Because we have inconsistencies, and most of them have created non-tariff barriers that are frustrating your efforts. A very good example, we've been having a situation on the issue of like rice, where you find people are saying, no, you are allowing in rice, you must pay VAT. You're not allowing some of us to bring in this. So those issues, Your Excellency, are issues we've assigned Peyaka to work very closely with the East African Committee of Parliament, and we propose amendments which we shall share with you the moment you find indeed they do fit within the vision you have for the region. Then, Your Excellency, we shall integrate them into our laws. I risk giving a speech, yet my boss gave me a speech to read, so allow me to read her remarks. But I must congratulate Professor Mumba for that insightful presentation, and I also thank our brother Martin Ngoga for always finding Uganda his home. So these are remarks from the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among. Your Excellency and members, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this induction program for honourable members of Parliament. The Parliamentary Forum on East African Community Affairs is a platform that brings together members of national parliaments who have interest and passion for the East African community integration process. The forum was formed in 2018 to ensure effective parliamentary participation and influence on social, political, and economic integration of East Africa. Peyaka is governed by an executive committee of members that is responsible for providing strategic oversight of the organization, as well as a functioning secretariat headed by the executive director. Currently, Your Excellency, the forum is comprised of over 100 members from national parliaments of member states and over 100 associate members derived from private sector, civil society, academia, senior citizenry, and foundations. This is an exciting initiative in the life of our democratic governments, as our parliaments are more diverse than ever before, certainly in terms of political parties represented, and as such, offer such a unique opportunity to develop and deepen our democratic and integration culture. The Parliamentary Forum on East African Affairs provides a great set of priorities for collective action by policymakers on regional political federation, free movement, economic rights, social and regional cohesion, as it does its oversight role in the implementation and regulation of these policies and resolutions in the national parliaments. As some of you may know, there is existence of non-tariff barriers which pose hindrance to the East African integration processes, and there is need to remove them to facilitate cross-border trade and opportunities in the region. The other important area for urgent attention is ensuring domestication and implementation of laid-down acts of bills of East African community. Many useful observations and recommendations are made in East African community committee reports. All of you should be reassured that these will be taken forward. I urge you all take seriously the induction program that has been ably put together by PEACA team. Please listen attentively to be able to appreciate East African community affairs and its opportunities so that your constituencies can be able to benefit from them. More importantly, we want all of you to play a very active role as representatives of our people, and this program will provide you with necessary insight into how best you can do that. The training for members of parliament is an ongoing process, and we expect of you to indicate whether you have further training needs. There's a lot of work to be done by national parliaments. Our immediate focus should be in line with the 4 pillars of the East African integration processes, namely the customs union, common market, monetary union, and political federation. We must also ensure that the program of parliament is designed to effectively do the oversight, monitoring, and evaluation of East African community and IARA resolutions and requests. Like you, I look forward to serving in a parliament where inputs of members of East African community can be expressed constructively and freely without fear or favor. I hope that the debates we will have will be well informed, meaningful, and respectful after this induction. We also need to give serious attention to the ways in which members interact with the public on East African community affairs, and we must rededicate ourselves to the true meaning of keeping the doors of Parliament open. I hope you find the training useful, and I look forward to your recommendations on future training. Together we must continue the transformation of East African community and ensure it remains relevant to the many challenges our people face and the hope they have invested in all of us. I thank you, Right Honorable Anita Anet Among, Speaker, Parliament of Uganda. Your Excellency, before I invite you, the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, who has been with us since morning, requested me to deliver her apologies, that she has a cabinet paper which you needed urgently, so she rushed to work on it, but she was here with us up to 2 p.m., Your Excellency. So now I take the opportunity to invite Your Excellency to address the members of Parliament and invited guests. Thank you.
Sit down, please. The Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Taremwa, the Right Honorable Speaker Ngoga. The name is Ngoga, not Goga. Ngoga. Ngoga means energy. Somebody with the energy is Ainengoga. The same word in Kinyarwanda, same word in Kinyankole. The Right Honorable Manyamushega, Right Honorable Chidega, and all the other ministers and members of Parliament. I am glad to know that there are some members of Parliament who are concerned about East Africa. That's very good, because some of the leaders are just there. Leaders, just by name. Leaders, but leading nowhere. So I can now see that you may be trying to lead us somewhere. So it's good that you have invited us. You heard what Professor Mumba told you. The reasons for the integration must be clear in your heads. The first reason, I had Right Honorable Ngoga mentioning it. I think he had me talking about it some time ago, and he seems to be a good student. The first reason is prosperity for your people. You must answer the question of how you can ensure the prosperity of your people. This is what we have been telling people all along. This integration is not for the leaders, it is for the wananchi. Especially if the wananchi wake up and become wealth creators. When the wananchi become wealth creators, then the issue of integration comes up. A wealth creator is a creator of a producer of a good or a service. Because that's how you create wealth in the modern way. In the past, in the pre-capitalist times, the pre-money times, you could have goats and you look after them on one hill, and you don't have to bother with the other villages beyond your area, because the goats and the cows were for only subsistence, for food. But with the development of the money economy, with capitalism, when capitalism came up, and modern economy, even socialism, socialist economy, then the issue of who buys what you produce becomes crucial. And this is where the parochialists, those who are parochial, really run into trouble. You must have heard of people called Manyankore. There are some people who live somewhere. I happen to know something about those people. These Manyankore, they have cows, they produce milk. In the past, they were drinking the milk. Produce milk, you drink it, that's the end of the story. But with the money economy, they now know that you can live better if you produce your milk and you sell it. They produce beef, they have beef. They have bananas. They also have other things. They have coffee, they have tea. For coffee and tea, those are taken by the international market. So even if the Ugandans didn't want to buy the Banyankore tea or their coffee, they would sell it abroad. But it would have to pass through the non-Banyankore area. Even that international trade will get to the ocean by going through parts of Uganda which are not Banyankore areas and parts of East Africa. So even for that, they need Uganda, they need East Africa. But specifically for the milk, the beef, and the bananas, the Banyankore don't buy from one another. Why? Because they are producing similar products. This Munyankore has got bananas, the neighbor has got bananas. The neighbor cannot buy from this one cannot buy from the other one. This one has got milk, the other one has got milk. This one has got beef, the other one has got beef. Therefore, although they have wealth, they have cows, they have land, they have water, but to turn it into wealth, into prosperity, they would be stuck. And that's why the Banyankore now need Uganda. That's why the rescuers, those who rescue Banyankore from poverty, are mainly the non-Banyankore who come to buy their milk, to buy their bananas, to buy their beef. So if you go and you find that a Munyankore has built a good house, know that that house, yes, is from his cows, but it is because some people from Kampala and from Jinja and from other parts of Uganda bought the milk of this man and bought his beef or bought his bananas. So that's why your movement, this movement you have heard of called NRM, from 1965, we saw this. And we said, no, instead of parochialism, for us, we emphasize patriotism. You must love Uganda. Patriot means fatherland. You must love Uganda. Why love Uganda? Because these Banyankore need Uganda for their prosperity. But if you go to Acholi, you go to the border. I went to the border with Sudan in Lamu, in Acholi. The people there were quarreling with their neighbors, the Langi. They were saying, we produce simsim here in Lamu, near the border with Sudan. And these Langis from Rira come and pay us 1,000 shillings a kilo. When they get to Kampala, they sell it at 10,000. That was another quarrel. But still, you could not miss the linkage that the Achoris on the border with Sudan, this one is producing simsim, the neighbor is producing simsim. The neighbor cannot buy from this one cannot buy from this one. The only people who buy this simsim are we the Camparians, whatever you call us, who don't produce simsim, who buy it from the Achoris. So the Achoris are liberated from poverty by us. We, I have never produced a kilo of simsim in my life. But we use it. And who are producing it? The Achoris on the border with Sudan. And we are the ones who buy it here in Kampala. So therefore, this is the first step. That's why the NRM says, principle number one of the national resistance movement is that if you want prosperity for your people, love Uganda. If you say, I am a Munyankore, but I don't care about Uganda, I care more about Ankole, you are a liar. You are actually enemy number one of the Banyankole. Because if the Banyankole did not have Uganda, they would not be prosperous. So, by you being against Uganda, you are against the prosperity of the Banyankole. You are enemy number one. So when you hear all these opportunities, talking about tribes, about religion, those are enemies, first and foremost, of their own people, of their very people. Yeah. In the school system, I was never assisted by a single Munyankwere when I was studying. The only people who helped me to study were two Baganda, one white man, and somehow the local governments were giving scholarships at some stage, and also the government of Uganda. Now, the two Baganda who helped me to go to, this was before, in the colonial times, before the economy had become more monetized. But even at that stage, we had one fat Muganda from Barara. He was called Bukenya by Banyankore. That's a Bukenya, but for the Banyankore, you know, they destroy everything. His name was Bukenya, but the Banyankore called him Bukenya. Now this fat man would come to Ntungamo, our area, in the monthly cattle auction market, and buy cows, including my father's cows, and take them to Mbarara for slaughter. There was not a single Munyankwere who was involved in the cattle trade that time. It was only this Muganda man, Bukenya, and then there was another Muganda man from Kampala. Apparently he was well known here in Kampala. He was called Warusimbi Mpanga. He's the one also who used to come and buy cows and bring them to Kampala here. So these are the ones who would buy my father's cows. My father had cows, but he needed money. He couldn't take a cow to the school to pay school fees in a cow. He had to convert the cow into money and go and pay my school fees. But the Banyakwere were not buying those cows. Now the other man who helped me was a man called, he was a white man called Shea. Shea was based in Ishaka, and at that time Chirembe mines had started, this Chirembe mines for copper, and Shea was buying cows from the markets and taking them to Chirembe mine for the miners. These are the three people who helped me to get education. Later on, the local government and the other people came in, the central government here, to give us either half or full bursaries. So therefore, point number one, if you are talking about prosperity of your people, you are not talking about parasitism. If you are not a parasite, you must love Uganda. You must love Kenya. You must love Tanzania. You must love Rwanda. You must love Burundi. All those people who talk about sectarianism are enemies, first and foremost, of their own people, of the very group they claim to be speaking for. But in our languages here, which don't move with a lot of speed, we say "tubatu chali yao," as if they were doing nothing. Tubatu chali yao. When we were still there, the Ugandans woke up. Being asleep is also a good thing, because when you are asleep, you don't know where danger will come from. A snake can come and enter the bedroom if you are asleep, and it will bite you and you die peacefully. You will not know. But when you wake up, you start seeing things. Now, these Ugandans, in the past, they were really asleep. Like, for instance, in 1986, the production of maize was apparently 200,000 tons or something like that per year. Now, the Ugandans are producing 5 million tons of maize. In Uganda, Ugandans don't consume so much maize because they have got other foods. They have got bananas, they have got cassava, so they don't eat maize so much. So within Uganda, the consumption is 1 million tons. So you get a surplus of 4 million tons. So where do you sell it now? We are stuck. The internal market cannot take more than 1 million tons. The milk, the other Banyankore issue I told you. Production in 1986 was 200 million liters a year. Production now is 2.9 billion liters. The internal demand is only 800 million. So there's a surplus of 1.9 billion liters. Where do you sell this? The Banyankore are stuck. The Ugandans now, it's not just the Banyankore, it's all of them. You come to Ebikado, to sugarcane. The production of sugar is now 700,000 tons. The internal consumption, 380,000 tons. Surplus, 320,000, and growing. Where do you sell the sugar? And you go on, you can go on item by item. Steel bars, Emitayimba, you go to cement, you go to soap, you go to the other products. You have got surpluses. Problem is market now. Now, that's where East Africa comes in. That's why we, the Pan-Africanists, we are telling you that you people, you don't only need to unite Ugandans, you must, if you can, unite East Africans also. So therefore, this is reason number one of why Pan-Africanism is not just a sentimental feeling. It is a rational and unavoidable need. Either you do it or you become traitors of your people. If you see leaders who say they don't care about integration, they are definitely traitors of their own people, whether they know it or they don't know it. And these areas will never develop. Do you need examples? Yes. We've got very good laboratories. There is what they call North America, which has got 3 countries, Canada, United States, and Mexico. The whole continent has got only 3 countries. Then neighboring, there is South America, which has got a large number of countries. The countries of South America are very rich in terms of natural resources. They've got a lot of resources. The Amazon River, the biggest river in the world, is in South America. The forest, the minerals, they are all in South America. But South America and the Caribbean are centers of misery now. And you see them walking on foot from, I don't know where, El Salvador, the other one, Uruguay, what's the other one? El Salvador, there's another one called Honduras, walking to go to the USA. These were all former colonies. There were British colonies in the United States, what is the United States now, and there were Spanish colonies in Latin America. But in 1776, when the British colonies got independence, they united. The 13 of them formed a federation. And then gradually they built on it. And because of that, they built the most powerful country in the history of man, up to now. It is one of the most powerful countries in the world. Why? Just because of uniting the market. Neighboring Latin America, a lot of wealth, but no integration. You can't succeed if you are a businessman. In El Salvador, how do you succeed? The market is 2 million people. Then you produce, you can't sell to Honduras, you can't sell to the other one. People give up and run away. Business people run away, go to invest abroad. When I was in primary 3, 1955, at a place called Chamate, we were being taught that Argentina is one of the richest countries in the world because it had a lot of beef and wheat, and it is the one which was feeding the whole world. Now, if you look for Argentina now, it is one of the poorest countries in the world. What happened? The richness of Argentina and was based on selling beef and wheat to Europe. Now, when the Europeans formed the European Union, they shut out the beef of Argentina, they shut out the beef of the wheat of Argentina, and it became one of the poorest countries. So therefore, market is a very important stimulus for prosperity. So that's why we support this integration. Whether you like me or you don't like me, you need me. That's reason number one. Now, somebody here could say that, oh, if that is the case, then we have economic integration only. We don't have to have political integration. We can have economic, but not political integration. Well, if it is impossible for you to have political integration, then you accept it as a fact, and you live within those confinements. However, there are autonomous reasons for political integration. There's a war going on in Europe now between Russia and Ukraine. I don't know those who are encouraging the Ukraine to fight, but I think it's not a good idea. Why? Because the Americans are the ones who are telling everybody about what they call four-dimensional superiority. That you are four-dimensional superiority means you are superior on land, you are superior in the Air Force, air, you are superior at sea, in the Navy, you are superior in space. Now, in the case of Russia and Ukraine, Russia is superior in all four. So, whenever the NATO brings something new for Ukraine, the Russians are watching it from space. So, how can Uganda, because somebody is superior to you on land, in the air, at sea, in the oceans, you don't know what's happening in the oceans, he's there alone, you are not there, you are here in Uganda, he's in the Indian Ocean, he's in the other one, he's in the other ocean, he's looking at you in space, looking at you like an insect. What is your plan, sir? Madam, Honorable, Right Honorable, Excellency. What is your plan, Excellency? How do you plan to defend us against this man who is looking at us in space? Katonda Jari. The Africans have got a very good answer. Katonda Jari. So, Rubanga Tiye. Really? But you are a leader. You're supposed to get a solution for us. But can Uganda, as Uganda, have a space program to go to the space and see you Americans, what are you doing here? Can Uganda do it? We can't have a space program. Yes, we are going to have a small satellite with our Russian friends. But the space satellite will be near here, not. But it will help us to do small things, to look at small things near us. We are going to have that small satellite. But it is not, the other satellite, it's not in outer space where these people can base their systems through quarters and do damage to us when we cannot reach them. So that's why we say, we, the NRM, all these years, we said no. For us, economic integration is not enough for East Africa. It must be political, economic integration, but also political integration. Because with the political integration, then you have one army. You have one army. You have one defense system. East Africa can plan now. Can plan. We can go to, because the Indians have gone there to ask the Americans what they are doing there. What are you doing here? This is our heritage. It's ours, all of us. The Russians have gone there. The Chinese have gone there. The only ones who are here are the blackies. What did they call the Africans? Negroes or what? What did they call them? They are the only ones who are here. In fact, all the other races have gone except the Africans. They are the ones who are really content on earth here. This is very risky. This is criminal. This is criminal. To say that we are leaders and we don't see this, and we are just here, Excellency, President, Madame, Excellence, Madame, Mademoiselle. In the African Union, you go there, you see Banang. We are keeping Africans for slaughter in the future. Like looking after cows, then at something they are slaughtered by the one who wants to slaughter them. This is not acceptable. That's why we need East Africa can go to space. East Africa. You can go to space. You Americans, what are you doing here? Mukora Chiwano. Eh? We have also come to see what you are doing here. So, that's why Ngoga correctly captured number 2. Number 2, integration is to deal with the issue of strategic security. Otherwise, it is really, because you the generation of Africans, you are going to be like the African chiefs who are here half naked, running around, that they are very important, that is a lion, that the king is a lion. A lion, whom do you eat? He only eats why don't you eat the imperialists who come to Now, these kings, I have had a long problem with them. Because remember, your ancestors were here. In their ignorance, we were all right. We were here with our small kings. In Ankara there, we had a small king. But the Banyankara thought he was a great king. He was Rubambansi, the control of the whole world. They thought that Ankara was the whole world. Rubambansi, Mugabe Nyakusinga. So we had these little kings here. Here, Karagwe, Buganda, Bunyoro, all these little kings were here. They didn't know much, so you can't blame them. But the problem is that when I hear a rumor that some of you are Christians. It's not confirmed, but there's some rumor that now, if you are Christians like me, you would have read the book of the Acts of the Apostles, the journeys of St. Paul, those places where St. Paul was passing, Ephesus, Galatia, Corinth, and all those places. Some of them are now in a country that did not exist at the time of Jesus. This country is called Turkey. This Turkey you see now. It was not there. The Turkish captured Constantinople in 1453. Captured it from the people who were there, the ones whom St. Paul was talking about, the Romans. Now, when they captured Constantinople, they blocked the overland route to the east. So the Europeans could not get spices, especially, which they needed for winter, for preserving food. That's how the Europeans started expanding, looking for an alternative sea route to the east. The Portuguese, 1473, they got where Sierra Leone is now. 1482, a man called Diego Cama got where Angola is now. 1487, a Portuguese man called Bartholomew Diaz got to the Cape of Good Hope. That's how they call it, the Cape of Good Hope. And then 1498, Vasco da Gama went around the Cape of Good Hope and landed in Natal. on Christmas Day. That's why they called it Natal. Now, that's why my problem with the king starts. When Vasco da Gama went from Natal, he passed by Mombasa, he bombarded Mombasa, he continued to India. From that time, 1498, these kings of ours here were aware, they were hearing that new people are coming, new people who are strong are coming. But they were just here, just not bothered. You can imagine, Vasco da Gama went around the Cape 1498. The first white man to come to Uganda was Huntington Speke in 1862. You calculate, this is a difference of 364 years. These kings are just seated here, not bothered to find out what's happening. And information was coming from the coast until the Europeans came and caught all of them like grasshoppers here. All of them were captured. Mwanga, Kabarega, all these little pharaohs who tried to resist, they were captured like grasshoppers. So, is our generation going to be like that? Like those kings? Because you have heard that somebody is in space, he's looking at you from there. And for you are here, dancing, dancing in Pakachini. Really, that's all the leaders are doing. When your people are here, and you know very well what happened to people when they are conquered. The good thing with the Africans is that they don't die easily. This is the good thing about Africans. If you go to America now, and you look for the Red Indians, they are not there. They disappeared. What they call Americans now are new people who came and took over the land of those Indians. Europeans who went and took over the land of the Indians. In South America, it's the same thing. Here, we refuse to die. That's why we are here. But is that going to be the case tomorrow? How can this generation of what they call leaders accept Africa to lag behind again? So that's why, number two, strategic security compels us to go beyond economic integration to also political integration, so to can have a safe security formula to guard ourselves against anybody. The Chinese, they are moving. You have seen the Russians, what the Russians have been able to do with their friends, the Americans. You have seen what's happening there. They are like the Banyankole in the past, when the Banyankole were, if it was not for the poor leadership, the Banyankole were really tough people. But these kings were hopeless. The Munyankole, if he wants to fight you, he says, he first insults you, I will cut your mother something. Then you know that he's serious. We are not serious. Now, finally, but these people, we are begging you to integrate. Because we are begging you. The NRM, I have been, so now almost from 1963. This is the newspaper of the 3rd of June, the 6th of June, 1963. You can see the headline. Federation this year. Top level meeting of Mwalimu, Nyerere, Obote, Kenyatta, they are all here. You take this gift to the Speaker, to the Deputy, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker. And then here, there was also another meeting in Mbare. This was some years later. You take this to, oh, you have another copy? Give Tayewa a copy, Ngoga another copy. Even remember the preacher can also get a copy. So, that was the Uganda August of June 6, 19. That was the Uganda August of the 6th of June 1963. That's when I became a follower of Mwalimu Nyerere. From that time. Now, Mwalimu Nyerere was so much committed that people say, oh, Nyerere wants to be president of East Africa. That's why he's, you know, very low-minded people. So now, Mwalimu died, he went to heaven, you are here with your problems. The Wanyarwanda have got a good way of speaking. You know, these dialects are similar, like Kinyarwanda, Kirundi, these ones here. Kinyankore. The Wanyankore, when somebody has died, they call him Karubuti, the one who died. They don't say his name, they say Karubuti. But the Wanyarwanda say, Nyakwigendera. It is different from the Wanyankore one, but it's a good way. The one who died, Nyakwigendera, Akegendera. He went away and left you with your confusion. I liked the Banyarwanda version. You tell people, please do this. They don't do it, you go. They continue with their nonsense. So Nyakwigendera Nyerere went. We have been begging you, please unite yourselves. But the people who are begging to unite are actually united by God. Because if you look at Africa, the linguistic groups in Africa are only 4. The Niger Congo, the Bantus, and the Kwa of West Africa. That's one group. The second group are the Nilo-Saharan, like our Nilotics, our Hamitics, like the Somalis, like the Oromos. That's one group, the Nilo-Saharan. I don't have time to go because you will find similarities. For instance, you find our Nilotics here call water P. It means water. If you go in the Somali language, they call water bio. The same P, but slightly changed. Bio. Then you find the Nilotic language linked with the Bantu language. Like in Acholi, they call daughter Nyara. And you know what Nyara means in the other. Then you have, so these are the second group. Then you have the Afro-Asiatic, the Arabic and Amhara and Tigrinya, and then the smaller South African group, the Khoisan. These are the four groups. But fortunately, for East Africa, there is a neutral dialect apart from these linkages. Because, like for instance, if you take like Runyankore group from Ukerewe in Mwanza, all those groups, and Kigoma in Tanzania, and Burundi, all those speak dialects which I can listen to without translation and know what they are talking about. Kinyarwanda, Kirundi, Kiha, Chikerewe, Kizinza. I don't need translation. All the way to Lumumba's place, Professor Lumumba, the Luya. I can hear what they are saying, know many of the things they are saying. When I visited the Vice President, Mudi Awori, I visited Mudi Awori, the former Vice President of Kenya. The women came singing, Igula Mlango, Museveni Yizire. Now, how could I fail to know that? Igula Mlango, Museveni Yizire. Igula, open. So apart from those linkages, we are lucky to have this dialect, which is neutral, doesn't belong to anybody, called Swahili. Swahili is a dialect which doesn't belong to anybody. We can use it in the whole of Africa. It is not Uganda, it is not Runyankore, so you will not say Baganda have imposed their language. No, it's neutral. Swahili, it developed on the coast. Sahel is coast in Arabic. These are the people who are saying, please, unite in order to achieve prosperity for your people, but also strategic security for your people. This is what we are begging you. Marim begged you until he went away. Huh? No. We had a member of parliament here in Parliament of Uganda who used to speak, he had a speech defect. Mayanja Nkanji. No, Ab Mayanja. He used to speak Obulimi. Obulimi is when you speak with the tongue out. So when they were debating that issue there, and Obote was beginning to develop cold feet, then Ab Mayanja stood up in Parliament. Some people want to remain big fifis in small ponds. So, this problem of wanting to remain big fish in a small pond, that's what I remember I was talking about. Getting a hair instead of 100% of a hair instead of 10% of an elephant. That's what he was talking about. So these are the people we are begging you to. So what are really the factors? Why can't people see what is so good for them? I think in your analysis, you need to notice one thing. Many of the actors are not wealth creators. They are not part of the wealth creation. Many of the actors are wealth consumers They are the ones, the bureaucrats say what. They consume wealth, but they don't produce it. So they don't know the challenges of wealth creation. Because if you are a wealth creator, you would know the importance of the market. Market internal, market regional, market international. Germany, this Germany you see now, by 1871, was not one country. It had 39 kingdoms. Prussia, Saxony, this one, Bavaria, 39 of them. And they had kings, small kings there. But there was a big business group in Prussia called Junkers. They are written as Junkers, but they are pronounced as Junkers. These were big producers. They would produce a lot of, I don't know what, whether it was wheat or I don't, you can do the research. They were big producers, and they had a problem of market to sell, like we're having now, what you call the non-tariff barriers, NTBs. They are the ones who backed Bismarck, who united Germany after the 1870 war with France, the Franco-Prussian War of 1870. So, I think one of the weaknesses is the lack of this group, a powerful business group, business groups that understand the importance of markets. And then we have got the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, for them, they just eat what is on the table. As long as some salary to pay them, they are not bothered. Mwalimu and some of us, we intellectually see the importance of the integration. And that's why we preach. But it would be good if we had these ones who are doing it for the sake of... Now, the other people, like the Maasai, Ngoga talked about, the border communities. The border communities, the traders, the smaller people, the ordinary people, they see the importance. But they don't have power. They don't have power. Like those Maasai whom he talked about. This is the same problem all over all these borders. All of them. They are, these borders are an oppression of the people of the border. They are oppressed. In there, I have my relatives in Karagwe, Tanzania. They are there. The other time, one of my clansmen died in Tanzania. And I had to ring His Excellency Chikwete. Can I go and... they had already buried him. So can I go and put a flower at his grave? So I went, and when I arrived there, the regional commission, the whole government was there. It was a diplomatic situation. We should really... this is not fair for these border people. All these borders, from the border Katuna, you find Bachiga on the other side, Bachiga on this side, Chisoro, Kinyarwanda speakers on this side, Kinyarwanda speakers on the other side. Then you come to Kasese, you don't know who is a Congolese and who is a Ugandan. Then you go to Bundubujo, you go to there are rules of Congo. Oh, they are all here in Hoima. They are now all Ugandans. You can't know who is who. You remember they used to say that Idi Amin was a Congolese, was a Sudanese. This is because Idi Amin's tribe, the Kakwa, are more in Congo and in South Sudan than even the ones in Uganda. Then Madis, you know the Madis. You remember there was a big man in South Sudan. Joseph Lagu. Is he still alive? Is he alive? Joseph Lagu? He's alive. That man is a Mahdi like these ones of Uganda. Like, oh, do you want to know how Mahdis look like? My daughter-in-law stand up and they see how Mahdis look like. Aniko, she's a Mahdi. Then there are Choris, then there were the what do you call the Busia people, the Samia. We had Mude, our vice president in Kenya, and Agurewor wanted to be president in Uganda. Then you have the Bagisu, Bukusu, Mzee Moi's group, Mzee Moi's Karenjin, the Sabine. You have got some Sabine there. So these people, for them, they know the importance of integration, but they don't have the power. The power is with some other people, the bureaucrats. But even in ancient times, even before the capitalist era, really, although the kings were also blocking us, but goods were coming from Zanzibar all the way to Bagamoyo, to Tabora, to Karagwe, to Uganda, and all the way to Congo. So therefore, I'm very glad to hear that you have formed this group. Really, this is a matter of survival. If you want Africa to be like Latin America, that option is there. 300 years from now, I don't know what will be happening, whether the Africans will still be around or what. Or Africa would be a very powerful place. And East Africa is the one with the best chance. There was a debate between Mwalimu and Nkrumah about having the union. Nkrumah wanted to have the All-African Union government. He wanted political integration of the whole of Africa, but me, I didn't support that. Africa can be united economically. I can economically be in the same group with the Egyptians, with the Moroccans, and so on. But politically, I would like to be in a unity, where people are either similar or linked or compatible. I don't want a country where there are incompatibilities. And I think East Africa can be a perfect example, because with Swahili, with our old linkages, we already have these linkages, the old ones, the ancient linkages, plus the Swahili. We can have a very powerful union, better than the European Union, because the European Union has got limits, because they try to be like the United States, but the United States united around the English language. European Union have German, have French, have what? They all, nobody is willing to surrender to the other. But for us, apart from the foreign languages, English and French, we can have Swahili. And our union will be much easier and very, very powerful. So thank you very much for calling me, so that I can also tell you. Now, Lumumba wanted to say that Museveni's watch. If people were listening to Museveni, would have had a federation long ago. So you go and convince your new government in Kenya, and you see we shall be able to, we can move. Because These Ugandans have said I should be here for another 4 years. I'm still around. So you can use this window with the new government in Kenya, and we move. And I discussed this with Mwalimu. I can tell you this. I discussed this with Mwalimu, and we agreed that if for some reason some of the countries have got a problem, they can't move on the federation, they're the ones who are ready to move. What we call variable geometry. So that one I totally support. It's not correct for the ones who have a problem to veto the ones who want to move. Because when Mwalimu was frustrated with our groups here in 1964, with Karume, they formed Tanzania. And it is there. And it has helped a bit. You can imagine what would be the case if Tanganyika was separate, Zanzibar was separate. They share the water, the continental shelf, the what, all that. There would be a lot of complications. And as you know, Zanzibar is very small. Now you find many Zanzibaris now in Tanganyika. They have got more opportunities. So it was good that Mwalimu and Sheikh Abeid Aman Karume moved while the others were dragging their feet. You can be sure if that union had been formed in 1963, there would have been no problem in Burundi, because East Africa could stop it. There would have been no genocide in Rwanda. There would have been no Idi Amin here. Even Somalia wanted to come in, by the way, that time. These problems you see in Somalia would not be there. Even Congo, because East Africa, if we were together, we would help. South Sudan, we would have helped them long ago. So it was a very big mistake, a very big historical mistake to miss that moment of 1963. Thank you. I wish you good luck.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your remarks, and also being a persistent crusader on the EAC integration. And indeed, Your Excellency, we as PIACA do appreciate your seal of approval. Your Excellency, may I also extend our gratitude to all the dignitaries that have shared with us their thoughts and experiences about EAC integration. And finally, all our distinguished participants for taking part in this parliamentary milestone. So really, we as a membership of PIACA, this is extremely invaluable, and we are so appreciative. So once again, thank you very much. Your Excellency, may I request that after the national anthems are played, that you have a photo shoot with only three dignitaries, and that is the Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, Right Honorable Martin Ngonga, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, and Honorable Dixon Katashumba. May we please play the two anthems, national and East Africa, in the reverse order.